Hello and welcome to today's European SharePoint Office 365 and Azure Community webinar. My name is Shane and I'm delighted to be joined by Johannes Linder, Lead Technical Evangelist, and Fabian Huber, Senior Technical Evangelist, Docs42 Austria, who will be talking to you today about Let's Power Automate your PowerPoints, Words, PDFs, mails, or any business documents with one click or your in-apps and flows. Whew, some title. Okay, remember to join the conversation about today's webinar on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @EuropeanSP and our hashtag is ESPC21. Don't forget to check out the Resource Center. This is updated daily with the latest blogs, ebooks, webinars, and how-to videos. Simply visit sharepointeurope.com and click the content link at the top. ESPC21 online will take place on the 1st and 2nd of June 2021. To be a part of this event, simply register today for free. We also just announced our keynotes. Full details are at sharepointeurope.com. After the webinar, we will have a questions and answers session. Type any questions you have in the questions window. Questions will be selected and answered at the end of the presentation. This webinar will be recorded and added to the Resource Center, where you'll be notified by email when it is available. And now I'm going to pass you over to our webinar presenters, Johannes Linder and Fabian Huber. Hello, Johannes. Hello, Fabian.
Hello, Shane. Thank you, Shane, and very warm welcome to our webinar. Today we will talk about document automation, and when it comes to the out-of-the-box tools from Microsoft, such as Flow or Power Automate or any other types that you can automate your business process, this is very good. But at the end of a business process, there's always a document, and also this document has to be automated. And this is exactly what we would like to show you today within this webinar. And my name is Fabian Huber. I'm Senior Technical Evangelist, and I'm so happy to be joined today by my colleague Johannes.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Fabian. Yeah, I'm also happy to be here. Great you joined our session. We've prepared an awesome lot for you today. So a lot of live demos, and I'm very happy to present them to you. Let's get started.
Yeah, but before we start, Johannes, I would like to show you something. And we actually love the community. You know, we love M365 and collaboration events. And before there were COVID, we always were there, you know, on site events. And you see a lot of pictures here. And if you have a little bit a closer look at the images, you will see that there is a guy or some ladies wearing and carrying the Lego sets. And still, we would like to, yeah, it is at the moment, it's not time that we have an on-site event, so we will have another way to give you the opportunity to win one of these Lego sets. And there is this huge Lego camper. It's, I guess, over 1,000 pieces. And you can participate to our quiz, but you have to be patient, to be focused on specific parts of the live demos, because there are some questions that you have to answer. You can either scan the screen, scan the barcode, or I will send you right now this link into the chat panel that you can also use this chat. Just a second. So here it is. You can use this one, then you can participate. But we have a lot of content prepared, a lot of live demos, and yeah, the question is, Johannes, what can the audience expect at the moment from our webinar today?
Yeah, so, well, first of all, we want to give you an introduction to the idea of document automation. What are the challenges? Why is it needed? And of course, how can it make life easier if done right? Based on this, we will jump into Docs42. So our approach to solving all of this is, this will be probably the first 10 to 15 minutes, and then the rest will be a lot of different live demos, where our goal, of course, is to show you all the different ways of document automation with basically everything Shane has mentioned in the title already. So we will do some contracts in there. We will do some PowerPoints in there. Well, that's the functional side. And on the technical side, we will do Word documents. We will PowerPoint documents. We will be the PowerPoint integration. We will also do the SharePoint integration. So our goal for today is that at the end of our session, you have an idea of what all the capabilities are that you can do with us. Yeah, and if you have any questions at any time, feel free to just put them in the questions and answers panels. Shane has shown in the very beginning, and we're happy to do them in the very end. The first question we are going to ask is not from you coming to us, but it's from us coming to you. So put out your phones, scan the QR code, and the question will be, do you already know Docs42? We will, of course, present this. So let me just switch to Microsoft Forms. In here, we will also see the responses. So I think it's also good feedback from your side to see what the status on is. There's more responses coming in. I will also share the QR code in the moment. All right, so we see there's a tendency. I will also at the same time, of course, the same as Fabian, put the link into the chat. Okay, we see the tendency here is coming bigger and bigger. It's always good for us to also get a feeling or how many people already have seen some of the demos or maybe the introduction. But in this case, it's good that we can also, like in terms of the basics of document automation, focus on this. And yeah, I guess one of the challenges of not seeing you like personally is that this is our way to at least get the personal feedback from this as well. Perfect. Thank you very much for everybody who joined on this. There will be some more, so keep your phones ready for this as well. So those of you who don't know Docs42 yet, what is it for? Document automation. Well, that's what the title already says. And what is the challenge in here? So on the left-hand side, you see some icons with a lot of different data sources. And at the same time, you want to have all of these data sources combined into different documents, PowerPoints, Words, contracts, emails. There is also some automatic charting here. And all of this is in a simple process done or can be done with Docs42. Now, what are the challenges that you basically face nowadays when it comes to document generation in real business life? And the way we've seen with a lot of different options in real life business is, of course, there is the classic copy pasting. So you take the old version, maybe redo it, copy some information from Dynamics CE, from SharePoint, or wherever you get it from, which of course is individual. It's a nice document that also hopefully looks nice, but at the same time, it takes a lot of time to produce this. So no automation at this point. The second option is already pinpointing into automation parts. So we have the VBO macro expert that knows the automation, or maybe also some basic functionality that we already have in PowerApps and Flow, with still the automation part being on the user mainly. And of course, at the same time, if that person who knows that way to do it leaves the organization or is on sick leave, for example, it can be quite a dead end for the functionality to use it as an enterprise solution ready for your organization. The last document generation option that you might see, especially if you come from an ERP or from a SQL background, there's of course the rather programmatic approaches to document automation, like there, for example, is SSRS. And those are basically designed by IT. So all the requirements that you have in the business and the marketing units are quite heavy or quite hard to basically do them in a programmatic way. Our approach to this is that you have document design in Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, so Office documents that everybody can work with, and at the same time have those documents integrated into your system, so into your applications, into your Power Apps, into your Dynamics, into your whatever there is. So this niche of document automation, that's our thing. We do this with around 400 customers at the moment and have around 100 partners. So if you are a service company for your customers, then get in touch for us for a partnership. If you want to have this in your organization, we can already connect you to some of our partners to get you ready with this. And wherever you are from, you might know some of these organizations down below. At the end of the day, all industries, all business processes at some point have documents. So that's why there is basically all industries that you see down here. We pick just a few. Promise it's the only marketing slide we have today, but also I think it's good to get a feeling in terms of what is possible in an organization when you use Docs42. One example that I'd like to show you here is ABB in Switzerland, and what they do is they integrated with their Dynamic CRM. So basically, they still use their Dynamic CRM for all the data, but at the same time, they can automate all the documents that come from there, like their PowerPoints, like their PDFs, even Word documents, if you still want to adapt them after generation with Docs42, and it's still integrated into the digital process. So that's also something we will see later on, which is very important for us. A document is integrated into a digital process. And for example, you might generate a quote from CRM, but have it saved into a SharePoint library with the right metadata, so also that the search functionality will work later on. And a story that you will see with a lot of organizations that start with us is that it grows within the organization, because in many cases, document generation was an island that is connected to each of the applications. In our case, it's something that can be used first in Salesforce CRM, then in HR with SharePoint connection, maybe also some parts in Teams. And that's something that's happening to many industries. So we have the same thing with process automation. In this case, for example, with BDO in Switzerland, in Zurich. Yeah, and the story is quite similar. It's just for you to give you an introduction that business-wise, like in terms of the use cases, basically there's no limit, because at the end of the day, technically, you have Word, Excel, and PowerPoint templates that you can use for whatever purpose you, in terms of the use case, have. The same as probably if you know Transgourmet or Rewe, if you're from Germany, they included also with business processes. So in Transgourmet, for example, there was an integration with the workflow. So it's you have different options, which is we'll see later on, which is also in the title of our session today, that you can trigger this either manually, or you can also have this automated in, for example, a workflow. And also in terms of workflow, you will see there are a lot of different options. Enough of the marketing part, or also the getting to know some of our customers. We are interested in how this actually works. Fabian, can you show us? Shane, can you?
Perfect. Now I need to share my screen. Perfect. And then we just have a couple of technical slides how it works. So I assume you can see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Perfect.
Or at least I can. I hope everybody else can too.
I guess so. If you see it, then
use the chat to confirm.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So thank you, Johannes. Besides some customer scenarios, now we have a quick look on the technical side, how it works technically. And basically, the template design happens in Microsoft Office. It is Word, Excel, or PowerPoint. And you see it here on the slide. There is the blue data fields that are then included into Office. So you connect to your data sources, and after that you can decide where you would like to generate the documents. And of course we will see some SharePoint possibilities that you generate directly the documents in SharePoint or with Power Automate with Flows. So we prepared something, and when you see the document here, the PDF at the end, there's an image included. Of course there is diagrams and graphs, so you can of course add some entire documents or images, barcodes, and a lot of other stuff. You can add conditions, so you can add some logical parts into your documents as well. And then we just have a closer look on how it works. So you have a document, sorry, this is the overview slide, which kind of data sources you can integrate at the same time without programming. So there is, for example, the SQL databases, you have the web services interfaces, and there is Excel, which is very common as data source, of course. And as we are here in SharePoint, in the SharePoint conference, of course, there is the SharePoint data source, so you can connect directly to your SharePoint libraries or lists. And it doesn't matter if it's on-premise or online, it works both. You can even go hybrid, take some data from on-premise and take some data from online. Then there's the XML JSON data source, of course, even SAP, if you have an SAP system using, and the entire Dynamics platform, even Dataverse as well, so you can connect to CRM. There it doesn't matter if it's online on-prem as well, BC online, and finance operations. And then there you might see as well the custom data source. So if there's anything, any systems that you cannot see here and connect directly, there's this little custom data source as well to connect to these kind of systems as well. So what we are interested in is, of course, which technologies are you interested in? And depending on that, again, please, can you just pull out your phone and scan the barcode here? And then, based on that, we might change a little bit our demos. So let me go to the Microsoft form and even let's check. This is the slide. So I will show you the barcode here again. There are already the responses are coming. So thank you for participating. Great to see that you're focused. That's good. So we see a lot of Power Apps. Of course, this is great. Johannes, good that we are prepared with Power Apps and Power Automate and SharePoint. So I'm happy to tell you that you will see all of them. And then there is even SAP. That's great to see. And digital document signing. Okay. So maybe I will generate a contract and send this one to DocuSign and let's sign it there. So let's see if we do this. And yeah, dynamic CE, that's also good because we have a CE scenario including data and text blocks from SharePoint. So that's good. And there's still Business Central. There are 3 of them. Okay, then maybe you have to contact me. Otherwise, after the meeting, then I can show you this in Business Central as well. Great. Thank you for participating in our little quiz here. And we will move on with the little technical part. I just would like to show you how it works. So you have a Docs42 add-in, an Office add-in. In this case, it's a Word add-in. So you have this data map that you have to create. This, you can see it here on the left-hand side. There are all the data sources. You just connect to them. You can filter them and can define everything and combine your different data sources. And after you have done this, you directly have your data field explorer on the right-hand side, and you can drag and drop your data fields into the document and define them as you need them. So if you want to have the font here from the first name in red and Times New Roman, for example, you just do it like you used to do it in Word. And when it comes to the template design, I have prepared something at the end. So we will design it in a PowerPoint presentation and including data from SharePoint, and you will see how it would work in PowerPoint, for example. Good, and this is one feature that our customers as well really like. So you can have your data, some sales data, for example, in your ERP system, and then in the background you use Excel as calculation and charting engine. You get then the final result, the dynamic diagrams and graphs into your reports. For example, in this case, it's a sales report, and the reference customer ABB that Johannes mentioned in the beginning also is using this for their service reports for their turbochargers, for example. And barcode also can be included. We will see this in the live demo. I will do this live. And then there are different output actions. So we have a Docs42 web service that is included into the systems. And it's either a SaaS full cloud version, so you can use our Docs42 online server or on normal Docs42 on-premise server. And you see the output formats. Of course, all the Office formats, Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, and then PDFs can be generated, of course, and you can directly store them to SharePoint. This is all we will see in the live demo, and even in Teams. Within Teams, you can generate the documents, and there is, of course, the email action. We saw some. Here you see the DocuSign, and we are a technology partner from them. So you can directly generate the document, send it to DocuSign, and then the recipient can sign the contract, for example, or quotes, whatever you need. Via DocuSign. And yeah, you see a lot of output actions as well. Develop, we are completely included with develop app into the developer system, so you can within develop generate documents and so on. At the end, there's the custom output action again. So if you have a system or any other document management systems that you would like to send your documents to, this would be a great fit for our custom output action. Good, and as we are talking about automation and workflow tools, of course, we prepared a lot of Power Apps and flow scenarios, but there are other very good workflow tools such as Firestart, Nintex, K2, or any other. All these workflow tools can trigger Docs42 as well and generate documents automatically. So all of them can be included just to tell you about that if you're working with other tools than the Microsoft out-of-the-box tools. Good, that brings me to the live demo. So in the beginning, I will just generate a contract. I will hire myself to Docs32 and I will do this in SharePoint. And then after that, Johannes will show you how he would generate the contracts with PowerApps and Flow without doing anything, just clicking a button, or even not even clicking a button, doing it on a Power App. So, and then we will go a little bit into the technical part. He will show you also the sales code within Dynamics CE, that you see that we can go between platforms. You can integrate data from different platforms. And then at the end, there will be the template design. I will do a little PowerPoint presentation for you, integrating some images from SharePoint and some data from SharePoint. And then we will show you how you can configure the calls for these documents. Good. So then let me jump into our demo environment. And the demo environment is, as I said, a SharePoint list. It's we call it the modern employee contract list. There are some sample employees already listed. And what I would like to do is I would like to hire myself. And what I need to do, if consider the situation that I would be HR, so what would I do? I click here on new and just can add a new item. And in this case, I would like to hire myself. So I just call my name, put my name into the title, and I have any email address, so we can use this later on to send the contract to me, docs4v2.com. And I have any telephone number, for example, so I just put something here, and then there is a little distinction between which kind of position. So I would consider myself to be a sales manager. There is a trainee and developer as well. I would like to be the sales manager in this case. And now please pay attention for the quiz if you want to win the Lego. This is the part that you need to answer in the third question. I would like to add a special agreement here, because the reason is I love red Porsches, and this is when I come to work for Docs32, I want to have a red Porsche in this case. And you see this one is a rich text field, and so my special agreement will be a red Porsche. And of course this red Porsche is supposed to be red, so I just highlight this one. Let's make it bold and make it as red as possible. So I guess this one is good. And now if I save this one, you see my special agreement, my rich text field, red Porsche is also there. That's good. And then I need to give me a considerable kind of salary, let's say 4,500. I would say this is what I'm worth. I don't know if this is correct like this, but I have my lead technical with me, so maybe he correct me if I'm wrong later on. So what you can see here now is there's a new.
We should make it more later on, I guess.
Yeah.
That's another part of the live demo.
That's good. So what you see here now is the new employee added, and what do consider me as an HR employee. So I would like to generate a contract for Fabian Huber right now. What would I do? I usually would copy paste the information here from the system into a Word template or something. But with Docs32, it's way easier. So what I would do here is I would select this item here, and then you see the Docs32 action button. So clicking on this button opens some of the output actions that we configured here. Of course, you can configure, you're very flexible in the way what kind of outputs you are configuring. But we did some of them. You see there is the save PDF, for example. That would mean it would generate the contract and save it to SharePoint. I will show you later because I would like to just generate the contract and return it to show it to you how it looks like. And that would be the open as PDF output actions. But here you see any others like the email. This is then the contract will be sent via email. This is what I will do later, or open draft. And for all the DocuSign or signing interested people, here would be the DocuSign output action. So it could directly send this contract, generate it, and then to DocuSign, and then it could be signed via DocuSign. And any others. So, but just let me generate this one here. And now I return one contract, the employee contract for Fabian Huber, and I will get the PDF returned here. And let me open this one and quickly have a look at it. So here, this is the contract. So that's basically a Word template, which I will open in a second, then you will see what happened. But I just want to show you the overview here. This is all the information here, the Fabian Huber coming from SharePoint. And there, this is the address and the confidential part, email address and something. Then I selected sales manager, And let's go a bit further down. This is the salary, 4,500. And I go a bit further down, and this is the most important thing, the special agreement, the red Porsche. So here it is. That's the rich text field. It's included in the contract. And then at the end, there is one document, and that's a policy. That's the sales remuneration policy. We have different policies. For a developer would get another one. I will show you. That's a Word document, actually, and that also includes metadata. And that's at the end of my contract. So that worked very well. So we have seen one thing. I added a new item, a new employee. I just clicked and select the return action. So I got this contract returned. And before I show you other actions, I would like to show you the template for this specific contract. And then I will show you other actions that you see how you can work with it, that you're completely flexible, how you would generate your contracts or documents. Good, then I would go to the templates library here. This is where we stored a lot of our templates, and even this little text block, the policies at the end. So if I scroll a little bit further down, you will see the different policies here. So I have a policy that's a Word document for developer, I have one for sales manager, and I have one for the trainee. Later on, I can generate one for training, for example. Then you see that's the different Word document that is included based on the position of the new employee. But before we show this, I open the contract, and what I would like to do is I just open this one here in my Word desktop app. And as we promised, all the documents that you are generating with Docs4 2, they are initially designed in Microsoft Office, or in this case now in Microsoft Word. And I just need to, I have a lot of accounts here working with, so sometimes I have to select which one I would like to use. In this case, it's me, myself. And there is the Word, and here is the template. And what you can see here in the ribbon is the Docs4 2 add-in. And this is where all the magic actually happens. So this is where you connect to your data sources. We saw it in the demo, in the presentation before. That's the data map here. And if I open the data map designer, this will show you what kind of data you can connect. And this is where you configure all your data and all your different data sources, put it into one and give the correct filtering that you get everything correctly included. And there you see all this data sources. Of course, here this is SharePoint data, but there's Excel. There are the finance operation products. This is Business Central. This is CE. So you can really combine all these data sources. And in this case, we just selected we just used an Excel file for the connection and SharePoint because it's a very easy scenario. We have all the data just stored in SharePoint. But it wouldn't be any problem to connect the data. You will see then it in detail from Johannes. After you connected everything, you can really insert, drag and drop your data fields here. And let me just show you something. I will add here a little data field just to show it to you. Let's open the data field explorer here. And there are all the data fields from the employees list from SharePoint. And I will take the ID, for example, and put it here. Just literally drag and drop, and that's it. And what I can always do is I can really just generate this document locally, and this is what I'm doing. So I save this one and generate this one, and I will select my ID. This is just for testing reasons to see how this document looks like. So the ID for my contract was 76, I guess. Let's see if this one is the correct one. Otherwise, it would be another one. And now the contract will be generated locally on my client. I can see what happened. I added this little ID data field. And what I would like to do here is I would like to put this side by side that you can see what's literally happened. So let me put this one here and this one on the other side. And then there's this panel what I have to quickly change a bit. So yeah, it's kind of, yeah, let's see. No, it's not synchronized anymore. So I do try it one more time. Yeah, now it's synchronized. Good, perfect. So what happened? This little title field, that's from SharePoint, so it's just included now from Fabian Huber from SharePoint as well. Then there is this little ID field that I added, that's the number 76, and you see it in bold. The reason is why I assume that this one is also listed in bold, so you can really work with the data field. So you see this data field is bold. And if you want to change color or font size, you do it like you used to do it in Word directly in your template. and that's the reason why it is in bold now. And it's the same thing with the sales manager as well. This is in bold, so the sales manager is printed in bold. And then I go a little bit further down. You will see here one possibility is to add conditions. So we have some text blocks like the free meal. Everybody gets this one, but the mobile phone, this is a specific thing that only sales manager will get. And you see we added a condition here. This is what you can easily attach. So you say the data field, the position is supposed to be equals sales manager, and then this part will be included when you are sales manager. I am sales manager in this case, so you see it here on the left hand side, it is included. If I would generate this one for trainee, of course this one wouldn't be included. So this is how you can add conditions, text blocks, or entire parts into your document. Then I go further down, the same thing with the convenient here. This is just for the sales manager, so it is included. And here's my special agreement, the report sheet that is included. And at the end, you see just one data field. That's a URL path. It's a URL path to a Word document. You see it here. And the Word document is in the same directory as my template. For example, I've shown it to you. We have the policies for sales, developer, and trainee. And here now there is the sales policy included. And it also contains metadata, me, and the position, Fabian, and sales manager from SharePoint. Good. So what I would like to do is I just delete this one here because it is not looking very well. And what I would like to do now is I would like to close the template, and I would like to show you other output actions. And for example, with another employee as well, that you can see that this dynamically included the different documents at the end. So I just close this one here, and let's go back into my employee contract list. And let's have a look at other output actions. So here you see Michaela Mitarbeiter. She is trainee. And first, let's create a contract for Johannes. So here is, if I click here, I can select Johannes. And what I can also do is open the Docs32 action buttons here directly in the context menu. There again is my context, and now I will generate the contract from Johannes and will save it directly to a SharePoint library. So let's do this. Click here, and you notice that Johannes is developer. So at the end of the contract from Johannes, there will be the developer policy. And we have here a all contracts library, so it's supposed to be in the all contracts library right now. Let's open this one, and what you can see here in the beginning is there is a few seconds ago, this document, the contract was created. It is very quick, as you can see, and it is modified by me. As we are using Azure Active Directory, you can really show who generated the contract. And I quickly open this one that you see the differences. It is the same contract, of course, the same template, and just with different stuff here. This is Johannes, and here it is different special agreement, and at the end there is the policy for the developer. Good, so that was the SharePoint action. So we just click the button, save the document to SharePoint. That's a very common use. It's very common use from our customers. But also we have other actions. As we have seen in the beginning, there is the email action, for example. So sometimes you would like to generate an email and send the contract directly via email to the customer or new employee in this case. So I will send this contract from Michaela quickly to Michaela because she's our dummy email account. I don't want to show you my email account. There's so much emails in there, so I don't want to annoy you with them. Let me send this contract to Michaela, and she's trainee, so I can again select one contract. I even could send more contracts if you just let me refresh this one here quickly. Sometimes you need to generate bulk, then you can of course generate all the contracts. Now we want to send this specific contract to Michaela, so I click here on my action button and say send contract. What is happening is the same thing again, just generating the contract. It will just attach the contract and then send it to Michaela. And when I'm opening my Michaela email account, you can see it here, that's Michaela. There is this contract coming in a second, I assume. So here it is. Okay, sometimes, yeah, it's now receiving. Basically, this. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes it is not working that quick because I don't know. It's syncing, but you can see it here. This is from Monday. It is exactly the same contract, so it is attached here, and you directly have the metadata from SharePoint as well in your email action. And then that's a typical demo effect that's not coming to my email account now, but it doesn't matter. It really works, I can promise. And I did it like 10 minutes before as well. Good, and then there's just one more thing that I would like to show you that a lot of customers really like as well. If they generate documents with Docs42, you can generate a draft email. So sometimes you have the new contract, but you would like to add something to the email text. So what would you do? You would click here again. You would select Michaela Mitarbeiter, for example, and you go for the draft email, and you would say generate a draft email. That means I will get an MSG file. The contract is attached, as you can see it here. And there is the predefined text, the exact text that you would have sent directly. Here is the contract attached. There is the possibility to add something here. Hello, you are so nice, or something. So you can really edit your email text. And of course, here's the contract. She's trainee, so she will have the contract then at the end with the trainee remuneration policies. And yeah, of course, that's a different one. She also has only this free meal. She's not getting the mobile phone and laptop, so we really can control your parts from the document. And then there is Michaela Mitarbeiter here. Good. So there we saw a lot of ways how to generate some of the output actions, and the same thing with DocuSign could be generated like this. And yeah, I'm keen to know what else we can do with the document generation. But sometimes you're not, you would like to do it completely automatically, right, Johannes?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess it's time to move this to the next level of Power Automate and Power Apps. Thanks for what we've seen already. Shane, can you just help me share my screen?
Yeah, just one moment, just doing it right now. So there you go. It should be asking you to take control. Perfect, I can see it.
Perfect. So one thing that you see here is my phone. So we can use this to check the weather. So this is just to prove that this is actually live. And what I'd like to show you quickly is in a Power App that we use here. We've already, like, this is the very same app based on the very same lists Fabian has already shown you. And as you see there are the same employees already registered. What I'd like to do now is, instead of doing the same thing from the SharePoint list, so use my phone and just use this with the Power App. From what I've seen, Fabian, I think you deserve more. So let me just get here into the edit mode, and let's take a higher salary than this. Let's make it.
Perfect. I like this. This is good.
Of course, I need to check this with Christian first. But basically, we've just changed this, and you also see that there's a little about button down there which says generate employee contract. And the triggers we've seen so far were those manually from SharePoint, and we haven't seen Teams yet. And this one is the next one. So the generation option directly from a Power App. And from what we see in the background, so there is our all contracts library behind this. And all the things that I've just done, you see that there is a new contract here, which is Fabian's. So there is the Power App. And also the ones that are already in that very library are also done by another trigger, which in our case is a flow. So summing this up is basically you have the manual options, but you also have the automated options. And because I just changed the item or the employee in this case, in that very list, you've also seen that there's an updated flow contract that we just received. How does that work? First, let's start with the Power App. So there is our employee contract generation, and there is a very simple thing. So basically the same way we've just triggered this, from this overview, well, of course, we can demo this in here too. But what I'd actually like to show you is that you can edit this as a Power App, as you know, and in a Power App trigger a flow or a Power Automation that already is in combination with Docs42. Perfect. Yeah, there we go. There is the browse screen. For those of you that are familiar with the integration, there is our details screen, which is the one that I used as a trigger. And in here, just from a high level integration, you see that within my actions on here, I can do some Power Automate integrations. And one thing that we triggered from this very Power Automation or for this very Power App is a flow. So that's a connection that you see here. And basically the same way we've done in the automation of just if there is an item edited, and it will be generating a new document. The same thing we do here with that very Power Automation. So the only thing I just need to show you for this one is that if we have a look into our flows, there are two different triggers. So the one is the Power App trigger, and there is another one where it's done basically based on if there's any item that is edited. And if I briefly jump into this one, the underlying element is you can use all your actions within a flow, like this one, when an item is created or modified. What in this case will happen is that our trigger will then generate a new document. And for example, not going into too much detail here, but the one thing you will notice is that the flow contract, for example, with even a variable down here, gets integrated into a SharePoint. So basically, this very action that we see here was responsible for creating this very document. So yeah, you can use the manual version or you can also use the automated version. So far, everything we've seen is within SharePoint or has been within SharePoint and also with the integration of Power Apps and Flow. The next thing that we'd like to show you, some of you also said that they are interested in CE. So briefly, we will also have a look into our CE integration. The good news, like Fabian already said, Docs42 is an independent web service. So basically all the integrations you see today are done with one SaaS offering from our side. And in this case, it's integrated with Dynamic CE, again, with different output options. The ones you see here are very similar to those that Fabian has already shown you, because basically, even though we are now within CE, we're calling the same server and giving the same options there too. The connection to SharePoint in this case is a very complex one. If you consider, let's consider this as a more complex quote. So you have different business or different people working on this. And to facilitate that process, we use SharePoint or Teams and have basically a SharePoint library ready, which has some advertisement, has some text blocks, some modules that get integrated into that very code once it's generated. We just open those. You will see that there's, for example, a special deal. So the sales department, they can make this a special deal for ESPC. Not knowing anything about Docs42, but just maintaining their own text block. I'll wait for this to load. Oh, no, it's coming. Perfect. Let's just make it. We had red before for the Porsche, so let's make it green this time. Then, of course, there is some calculation that is done in Excel, which is saved in the SharePoint library, also maintainable by the business units. Then there's a project description, which might have been edited by some technician. And also there is a connection plan to this, same also from somebody who's technically aware of how to connect all of this. And everybody basically use these documents, put them in the SharePoint library. Now let's say the next role, so the guy who's selling all of this, will send out the quote. There is an option to do this as a Word document. We have seen PDF quite frequently today, so I will use the docx for this one. And me, as for example, the one who's taking or sending this out, I can still edit some parts in that Word document based on all the different modules we already get from CE, from SharePoint into that very document. Here's our sales quote. All right, and if I use the same trick as Fabian did, so let's move them side by side. You will see that this very top here is coming from Dynamics CE. This part, the sales quote, is, remember the description. So that's basically a list module. Then we have in here also some repetitions. That's one thing we didn't really see in the template before, in the template design, but you can also have some repetitions around, for example, like you see here with products, with entity images. And if there would be more than just one page, there would be, of course, the page breaks according to Word. So that's a good thing in Word, that the page breaks just work correctly, as opposed to programming them somewhere else. Then this is our Excel. It's coming from here. And the last part, our PowerPoint connection plan, is at the end, and we also get to see our special deal for ESPC. So I guess the underlying aspect of all of this is allow different users to have all the collaborative aspect, in this case in SharePoint. Now, of course, all of this, what you've seen here, could of course also be in Teams. So let's just move this really quick. So as SharePoint, of course, also integrates greatly into Teams, or is the base for Teams in many cases. If we have, for example, our sales quote here, there are the output documents that you can also reply from SharePoint, from Dynamics CE to SharePoint, but also, of course, the input, so those quote modules can also be maintained in this very SharePoint library in Teams. So even this brings the collaborative options to a next level. I already did a little bit of a sneak peek into that solar panels option. So of course, you can also edit this within Teams. And again, like similar to the flow we had before, in this case, we also have a flow that is triggered based on anything that's edited in that very document. So if I, for example, change the quantity, this would be another option to the manual approach we already had, where you click the button, but based on any change I do here, this will be automatically saving a document into SharePoint. We'll show this to you in a second, but before, I'll also show you the manual option for this. Time's progressing really quick. So I also want to give you an option for PowerPoint from Fabian later on. But let's just see this here as a part of generating those documents. So we will save that to SharePoint and Teams. And again, similar to what we had before, there will be two documents. One will be the one that I just trigger. So with the manual generation, that this will be saved somewhere. And the other one will be our flow document. So there is our CE documents. And if we have a look into our sales quotes, there are two documents that you see that have been generated a few seconds ago. One is from the flow and the other one is from a manual trigger. In this case, you also see there, similar to what we've seen before, a for sales, like it used to be called, or in the CE template library, also with PowerPoints. That's the first moment we will jump into a PowerPoint. And if I go to my opportunities, all of the options that we've already seen, I just briefly want to show you with a PowerPoint output, where let's take the case where we will still be able to edit this. Generate a PowerPoint presentation, and similar to everything that we've done so far with Word template design, we are now able to do with a PowerPoint document. And that PowerPoint document, of course, has again collaborative aspects with SharePoint and with some automation in that slides. I open this. You don't really see the complexity yet, but just bear in mind there is a lot of repetition. There are slides that get excluded or included based on all these informations. And the way you can do this, Fabian can show you in a second. All right, so much for the CE part. Let's jump into the SharePoint PowerPoint part.
Perfect. Then Shane, I would love to share my screen again. That's good. Cool. So yeah, we have seen this the PowerPoint proposal quickly from CE, and I have another quick scenario for you. That's an employee list within SharePoint. I will select some specific employees here and generate a PowerPoint presentation for them, and then based on that, I will design a kind of tiny little employee list and show you how you can design templates in PowerPoint. Good, what is basically happening here? This is an employee list. We have 4 employees listed here. I can work with this list, so I can sort it from larger to smaller, for example. So I have an achievement, somehow I have a name, I have images included from the employees again. And what I would like to do is I would like to select like Angela, Dr. Cloud, and Selena, for example. And these 3 items, these 3 employees, I would like to have listed in my PowerPoint presentation. So what would I do? I click here on the button again, and there are different output actions. So you see, I can have a PDF list again, I can have my PowerPoints, or I have a second sales report design, for example. So I can, of course, use different designing templates. I select this one right now just to show it to you. And what happened is now is there is a PowerPoint presentation generated, and the 3 of them will be included, just Angela, Dr. Cloud, and Selena. And in the background, there's something else happening. Some data will be, we have some sales figures in an ERP system or an Access database, and this information will be included as well. Then you will get the different diagrams and graphs of the sales figures included. So I quickly open this one, and you will see this is how it is. So we have the 3 included, and this information, the images coming, all this information as well, coming from SharePoint. And here it is, the sales figures, they are coming from the different, it's a dynamically via an Excel file coming from an ERP system, for example. And then you have Dr. Cloud, for example, or Dr. Luftikus. So you see, this is what I would like to do right now. I have a blank PowerPoint presentation. I will just integrate some images, some data here from this specific list. So what I would like to do then, I go to my templates library again, open my nearly empty PowerPoint presentation. So this is what I prepared, and I just connected some data, this little SharePoint list, and I will show you how you can integrate the data into your PowerPoint. So then I will again select myself here, and this is the template here. So there's kind of nothing, just a little table here with phone and mail, and everything else is empty. And what I need to do first is, of course, open my data map and to connect to the SharePoint data. This is what I already did before. So you see here again the data map, and we just selected the employee list. This is exactly the employee list that we saw before, and we connected it via an Excel file again. So this is, the process is pretty easy. After that, you have all the data fields that you would like to use for your document. So this is what I did before, and I just would like to insert some of the data here. So clicking on Insert Data Fields, open again the Data Field Explorer, and then I can take the data here, and I would start with the title and put the title here into, oh, that was wrong. It was here. It has to be, the cursor has to be on. So let's put the title on the top. And if I would like to change the font or the color size, of course, I can use to do it like everything else. I just select something else here, and let's take this font here and a different color, and then that's it. So the title will be listed and printed in this color and this scheme. Then there is the phone, for example. So here again, you select what you would like to have included into the document, the mail as well. And then I will generate this one just to show you what happened. If I generate this one right now, just the first item will be generated. And I would like to show you what you can do to control slides, that all the items will be listed. And this is what saves you tons of time. I will do this later on. So the first item is Selena Bentley and her information from SharePoint, from this SharePoint list. Now we need to add an image and the barcode, and then I will repeat the slides and change some slightly things, and then we have 5 minutes left for the Q&A. So I guess we will manage this one. Here is the URL path. That's that's the data field that is the path to the image. And I need to tell Docs32 that is a part of the path. So from SharePoint, so I just tell it Docs32 here in the add-in where it has to look for this little path from the image. I give it a dimension here, like 200 or something. And here you see the type, that's an image. So it is now defined as an image. And then I have my image here included. And the same thing, what I can do is I can take any data field here, like the department, and define this one as a barcode. So it's just you select here your fields and say barcode and say 60 or 50, whatever. And there are different barcodes out of the box that you can use. I use the QR code. And if I generate this one right now, the image and the barcode is supposed to be included. And then I control my slides and you will see, okay, then I have something wrong in my path here. I guess the slash, there's too much slashes. So I'll just take the slash, delete this one. So now this is working. And I would like to add the slides to control the slides. So I say control slides, and here I can add conditions as Johannes mentioned to manage my slides, or I can repeat them for all of them. So what I select is I will select the JSON file. This is what I get all the data then from, and now all the employees will be included. And if I generate this one right now, I generate here and we'll get all the employees listed in one PowerPoint presentation. Here you see it here, Selena, then Dr. Claudius Cloud, and Angela, all of the 4 of them. Good, that's good. So my template is designed in 2 minutes. What I would like to do now is I would like to generate this one server side. And what we are doing here is we are using a SharePoint app, the Docs32 app, and that's the command bar config. So what I can do now is I see all my output actions, and this is where I decide where my buttons should appear and which kind of actions should be included. And there is one action, that's the employee list PowerPoint. So if I open this one here, you will see some configurations, and there's a little string, and here it's a set that is still a PDF. So what I would like to do now is I make a PPTX, a PowerPoint. So I will get this document then created as a PowerPoint, and this is saving right now. So when I go back to my employee list, I will go and select just the 2, Angela and Selena. I click here on the button. Just let me refresh this because all of my users, I have many different users. So let's me refresh it. I select now Angela and Selena, and I click here on the button. And this is the action that I selected to create a PowerPoint for my template that I designed. And now we will generate this on server side. I get the PowerPoint just with Angela and Selena included. And here it is. Angela and Selena with my beautiful new looking PowerPoint presentation. Good, so that was everything with the live demos, a lot of live demo content. Now let's jump quickly to the Q&A. I assume there are some of the questions, and maybe Johannes has already answered some of them, but let's have a look. Shane, if you can moderate.
There are some. We'll read them out loud so everybody can see them. So the first one we got is, can Power BI report data be integrated? If I only have end user access to Power BI report, can that be somehow be used as data source? So I guess you pinpoint into the direction of that we need to have access to the actual data, as Power BI is usually a way to visualize the data that you already have in some other data sources. So ideally, there would be an approach where we can have the direct access to that data. If there is some way to export the data as an Excel or for whatever, you can then use it also for local generation. But of course, the server side integration would basically have direct access to the same data source as the Power BI report, and then output whatever document you'd like to have with this one. If that doesn't really answer the question, feel free to use the chat again. There is another one.
The next one there is there a way to watermark PDF using Power Automate?
Yes, this is possible. Yeah, Exactly, you define this one in your Office document, like a usual watermark, and this watermark also can be dynamically with the Docs42 data sources naming of data fields, and then Power Automate as well is generating the document with watermark dynamically, so no problem.
There's a comment in, I think it's German.
Should I read it?
If you want to translate,
I can at least answer it. The question is if the event is going to be recorded. I think so, right?
Yes, the event is recorded, and yes, I will be sharing this with everyone that's attended later today. And then the last question insofar is, could you please give insights into licensing?
I guess that is the perfect moment to show our contact details. So generally, the licensing is design and the server side, and those can be very modular on how many designers you have on the one hand side, and if you want to have a cloud version or if you want to have an on-premise version in another context. So if you send us an email to info@docs42 with the info of how many designers you'd like to have and if you want to use the cloud or not, or if you generally want to have a conversation with us to get into details on this, feel free to reach out here. Then we can give you some insight onto the licensing. Generally, it's very modular, so we'd like to have it as modular as possible so that you can, based on your scenario, if you have 1,000 documents or 1,000,000 documents, and basically choose for the right one, or if you go for Word, Excel, or PowerPoint together, or just Word, there's also different options.
Brilliant. Well, on behalf of the ESPC community, thank you, Johannes and Fabian, for taking the time today to complete this webinar. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
Brilliant.
Thanks, Fabian, also. A lot of cool content. It's always,
brilliant.
When you prepare a webinar, it's always nice to see that there is a lot of different live options, and I hope some of them could be used in a live case for you.
Brilliant. And if anyone has questions, you had your slide up there. So yes, please do feel free to reach out to Johannes and Fabian. I've been fortunate enough to meet you in the past, so you're more than helpful. I know you're absolutely exceptional when it comes to dealing with people's questions and communicating back to them. So yes, absolutely. Feel free, even just for a chat. If you're feeling a bit lonely, reach out. If you need to talk to somebody, Johannes and Fabian are there.
Feel free to shout out.
Brilliant. Well, thank you for joining us today. This is the end of today's webinar. Just a quick reminder that ESPC 21 online will take place from the 1st and 2nd of June 2021. To be a part of this event, simply register today for free. We also just announced our keynotes. Full details are at sharepointeurope.com. This is the end of today's webinar. Thank you for joining us today. And again, a massive thank you to our webinar presenters, Fabian and Johannes. Take care, everybody, and goodbye.
Thank you, Shane. Bye, thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.